You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. We got a great show planned for you, as usual. Sorry for the late start this morning. CKLU is back up and running, and if you're listening in your car, you know that. As far as back up and running, it's been back up and running because we had a backup system going, but this show was not on because we couldn't remote stream to the radio station. So, but today we can because everything is back up and running in terms of the status quo, the way we used to run, the way that it always has been, as far as we were able to, do the show. And but this morning, the late start has to do with, I use a monitor in front of me to look at who's on, like how many people are on the show at any given moment to see, is there something I said or something that would create more people coming on? I don't know. Just so I could see how many people coming on. The only way I can see it is to have a monitor there that, with the Facebook Live showing how many people are on. And just before going on this morning, now, along with, the amount of steps I have to take in order to get it on the radio, which I haven't had to do the last couple of days. Along with that, my mouse my wireless mouse died just before the show was supposed to start. It's a Mac, so it's not the easiest thing to change the batteries in it and everything. So I'm like, and the light's on. It's supposed to work. It's just not connecting. I don't know what the heck. So I then had to use a different computer, one that I use to get the show on the air, and I'm hoping it's even going to work today. I have to at least do that, and it's frozen right now. It's really slow. I had to then sign back up. I had to log in for Facebook, and because of their security stuff, then they have to. There's security measures. I had to sign up in Google. I had to sign in Facebook, and then the computer's slow on top. No idea why. It's a brand new computer, and it's just so slow. But anyways, we're here, and it's going to be a great show, regardless. And you're here, and there's quite a few people on. I can see because even though I'm frozen on that computer, I could still see that there's many people on. So I encourage you to make sure to comment on the show today. Like, share, subscribe, follow the social medias as usual, so make sure to do that. We are live on CKLU 96.7 FM this morning. We haven't been for a while since the cyber incident at CKLU. We have not been live since then, but we are back on the air. And good timing, too, because Pledge Week for CKLU is coming up. In the next week and 2 weeks, whatever. We're kicking it off next week. So that way people like yourself can, participate in contributing to CKLU. And we're grateful for that. For more information, go to cklu.ca, and that's where you can stream this show and other shows as well as you download the Radio Player Canada app from that website. You can buy some merch there as well. Do anything you can to support CKLU. It's Sudbury's campus and community radio station, been around since 1984. Started off in a little trailer on Ramsey Lake Road at the old, at the original site for Laurentian University. Now, the studio is located on the corner of Elgin and Elm in the old Telegraph building, now part of the School of Architecture, the MacEwan School of Architecture. And we're grateful for that location and Laurentian University's partnership with us in order to bring you great programming brought to you by you. It's all community run. It's volunteer. There's very few paid positions, maybe just one, and then a couple here and there as grants come around. But other than that, that's it. That's all you got. So thanks for being with us this morning. It looks like I'm frozen as far as I could see on my computer on Facebook, but hopefully something will work its way out there, and we'll continue with a great show this morning, starting off with a little bit of weather. We'll be back right after this. And Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Currently it's -3, but it feels like -7. Partly cloudy out there. Sunny today, becoming a mix of sun and cloud this afternoon. Wind up to 15 kilometers an hour, which is very mild. Speaking of mild, high of 9 today. Sunny and 9 on a Tuesday, March the 12th. Wow. Wind chill -5 in the morning. Tonight, mainly cloudy. 60% chance of showers this evening, so don't expect the sun to hang around all that long. And then showers into after midnight as well. Fog patches developing overnight. Wednesday, mix of sun and cloud. Fog patches dissipating in the morning. High of 13 tomorrow. High of 13 tomorrow. Double digits in the positives. And then so a mix of sun and cloud for your Wednesday. High of 5, mix of sun and cloud on Thursday. The temperature lowering to 3 degrees on Friday. And just in time for the weekend, everyone, 40% chance and 60% chance of flurries. High of +3 on Saturday and a high of +1 on Sunday. And then -2 is forecast for Monday, March the 18th. So temperature is milder, going colder. But again, the coldest day in the 6-day forecast is next Monday, high of -2. Look at your satellite, taken at 3:30 a.m., showing the clouds coming in from the west. But I'm still frozen as far as I could see on the feed on my computer, but that doesn't mean I'm frozen in general. But anyways, it is what it is. Let's continue. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and much more right after this. Okay, and welcome back. Thanks for being with us, like I said. And let's get into who's joining us this morning. We got Marianne from Barrie. Good morning, Marianne. Thanks for being with us. And liked and shared, as usual. Thank you so much for that. And Judy is with us this morning as well. Good morning, Judy. Good morning, Vin. Morning squirrel-free Sudbury News. Yeah, you know what? I wasn't able to find him yesterday, so probably still around somewhere, and I'm not sure he'll show up. I'm just at the weirdest time, I'm sure. Claire, good morning, all. Shirley, good morning from Caperel. Wishing everyone a happy day. And some really cool emojis there. Denise, good morning. Blessings from Espanola. Leon, Liberal and NDP, the biggest criminal organization in Canadian history. Interesting. I don't have anything to argue with that back, but it's definitely this government's the most investigated, has the most scandals. There's no doubt about it. It really beats an expensive glass of orange juice or getting, a envelope of money for Airbus. That's for sure. That makes that look like like absolutely nothing. Anyways, so we talk about that every day on the show. So if you've just tuned in or you're catching us for the first time, we definitely like to, not sweep things under the rug. That's for sure. At least talk about it. Not like other mainstream news organizations. Maurice, good morning. Thanks for being with us. David, good morning. Take care. Stay safe. And Naomi, morning all from St. Charles. Have a great day. Thanks, Naomi. Thanks for chiming in as well. Thanks for being here. St. Charles isn't all that far away from Sudbury. And Nancy, good morning. Curious how the protest in Ottawa with the Palestinians is curious how the protest in Ottawa with the Palestinians is not stopped by the Canadian truckers convoy what incited the Emergencies Act. So I guess we're comparing the two, like to see which, why we aren't invoking the Emergencies Act for one protest and we are for another. And I'm sure that's on the minds of many, many people. And our Prime Minister came out and said it's because he doesn't agree with that protest. If he agrees with it, you can protest all the day long. And as long as it's not against his government, he's fine with it, right? Well, even that. Yeah. So it has to align with the ideologies of his government. Claire shared far and wide. Thank you so much, Marianne. I gotta love these towers they put up because we'll have faster internet. Well, not here, that's for sure. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm totally frozen. I'm glad I'm not frozen on your end, at least, as long as I could see how many of us are joining, because Canadian government is scared, and they should be if they know their facts. Interesting. We'll have to see how scared they actually are. I myself don't think they are. I don't think they're scared one bit. I think they get up every day knowing exactly what they're doing and knowing exactly who's for them and against them. And they feel pretty confident in their shoes, regardless of what they're doing or saying at any given moment. Nancy, there's fireworks and smokes, bombs going off, and no arrests. Insane. I wonder how many bouncy castles they've had. I'm not sure. Marianne, minor of what could happen to Canada. Okay, not sure exactly there. That's saying, but Monique, good morning. Thanks for being with us today. A smiley emoji. Denise, the silence of Canadians, again, it's not just killing our country. Again, and be able to be informed and be able to do something is better than just sitting around doing nothing. And these are very confusing times. You just see a lot of people digging in their heels, whatever they believe. There's a big divide in this country. You're either very passionate about one side or another. Not like Canadians usually, right? We're usually fence sitters. We usually are apathetic to anything political, but it's not like that anymore. And we're pretty divided. Hard to have conversations about things, for sure. It's interactive with people, which makes it inviting. Good morning, Debbie. Thanks for being with us. Marianne, also a preempt of what can happen to our beautiful country thanks to a corrupt government, our corrupt government. And I can't say that it's not corrupt for sure because it's being investigated. It's to be seen whether or not they are legally accountable for things or are they above the law. It wouldn't be the first time that Canadians, by and large, would think, at least, would have the perception that there are people above the law in this country, in the city, for matter of fact. Cindy, good morning from Anmur. Good morning. Good morning from Hanmer. A great place to be. Marianne, so I was being sarcastic about the towers. Okay, for sure. I understand. And Vin, April 1st, the calculator to the pumps, fill your tanks, refuse to pay the carbon tax. Current day Boston Tea Party, disputing taxation without representation. There you go, right? Did you vote for this? Did you want what the carbon tax is even for? Do you even believe in what it is that they're saying it's for? Do you believe once they collect that tax, it's going to go for what they even say it's going to go for, even if you are for it or not? It's pretty insane. Anyways, they're getting a raise. All politicians, Justin Trudeau getting a $10,000 raise, I think for the 5th time in 7 years or something like that. As you're going to pay 23% more tax, Justin Trudeau is getting a $10,000 raise, and that'll pay for all of the taxes that he might have to pay, if he indeed pays any taxes. So they're all getting raises. So he would add something like $50,000 raise in the last 8 years since he's been in office. And just ask yourself, what kind of raise have you had in that same time? And have your taxes gone up or down? So is your dollar worth the same as it was 8 years ago or not? And is it worth less? And if it is, why? Who's controlling the policies and things that are making these things happen, right? In Espanola on February 22, a little Islamic woman came up to me and told me our country belongs to Islam. They believe they already own Canada, and we are now living on their terms, taxes, and FATA. Interesting. A tax to live attached to exist. Taxes will keep going up. It's part of that. Interesting. Okay, well, I don't know about that. That's the first time I've heard that. Very first time I've heard that. I'm open to looking into anything. Denise, many men are coming here in other places, and they will go into the schools and steal the girls. I wonder why they would do that. Okay, again, first time I've heard that as well. But Jesse, definitely, it's hard to eat for anybody these days as grocery bills are going through the roof, and our dollar power is definitely way less than it was 8 years ago. And you just have to ask yourself, why is that? It's just the way it is. Things just work themselves out. Doesn't matter what we do, just consequences never happen. You can just do whatever you want and it won't affect the economy, I think has been the mantra of this government, basically. But we see that it is, and we do live in a real world, not a fantasy world. Marianne, there was a court hearing at international level of Israel and the genocide they are doing on Palestinians, and Canada can be charged with crimes of humanity because they gave money and equipment to Israel. Again, this is layered. This whole thing is layered, and it's going to lead to not so good things in our world as the very conflicting, layered, confusing, very complicated issues in the Middle East that are not cut and dry, they're not black and white, are going to, as we are not able to deal with them, and it's only going to get more confusing, and it's only going to get more dangerous around the world. It just is what it is. You can take that to the bank. I am out of food and life. Okay, it's not to be in a good place. And I would just have to say, I have to speak to this at this moment. So in this country, if you were in any other country other than this one, no matter how bad you are off, you are more well off still, regardless, than most people in other countries. If you are hungry, there are means to get food here. There is food. I have someone who's close to me, and it's unfortunate, and it doesn't have to come to this, and it's terrible that people would do this, but he had to resort to dumpster diving and stuff in order to eat for a short period of his life and whatever. And I'm saying, as bad as it gets, there is food all around us, and it is just basic survival. And I'm not saying for anyone to go out and dumpster dive or whatever. We throw away so much food out of our grocery stores and stuff like that. There's an overabundance of food. If we're in a position of not having food, there are food banks, there's soup kitchens, there's things that are there. There's no need to go hungry. Now, whether we feel we should be in a place in order to have to eat out of a food bank, I myself would take exception, and I would say to myself, if I have to go to a food bank, there's definite issues with my life and how my life is going. However, the fact that there are food banks there, the fact that there is food available for us in our country is a huge blessing, not available to many, many, many other people around the world. And we do have the ability to have the basics of life, although they are eroding, but there's still a a remnant of that, and we shouldn't be in that position whatsoever. So Jesse, particularly, just speaking to yourself, my heart goes out to you, and maybe we'll speak one-on-one with some things that we can do in the meantime, as you are on a very, very limited budget, that we can find a way for you to not feel the way that you are feeling, because nobody should feel that I think that's, with the MAID program, I think that's what our government is offering as a solution for people in our shoes feeling this way. And it's very not acceptable at all. So yeah, if you want, we can definitely work something out where on a budget, being able to make things happen, regardless, no matter how bad things are, we can still find a way to have the basics of life. And the basics of life should not only be food nourishment, but also emotional or spiritual, which you don't need very much food to feel spiritually fulfilled, emotionally fulfilled. And I know it doesn't sound right or whatever. You may feel it's almost impossible. I have someone who's gone through it. Myself, I do know, I've been there. I've had to kind of pull myself by my own bootstraps out of that situation. Okay, so maybe if you want to private message me, Jesse, we can definitely make sure that we'll get some of these things taken care of for yourself. I have no problem doing that. Okay, so headlines from around Sudbury. Let's look in here. Police seize $59,000 in drugs, $60,000 of cash, $20,000 in stolen property. A March 8th search warrant in Chelmsford, of all places, yielded 103 grams of suspected cocaine and 463.3 grams of suspected methamphetamine powder, according to Greater Sudbury Police. So big drug bust going on there. And this is all coming from Sudbury.news, your news aggregator here in Greater Sudbury. It's a service that we have for all the journalist outlets here in town, so they can have their news in one convenient location, and then you click on it, it goes to their websites, and they get the traction on their websites basically from that. So more than 62,000 Northeastern Ontario families or individuals could be without a family doctor in 2026. This is a story from CBC. The last headline was from Sudbury.com. The Ontario College of Family Physicians calling for urgent supports for family doctors and patients. Currently, nearly 32,000 people in and around Sudbury, Manitoulin, and Parry Sound do not have a family doctor. That number is expected to double by 2026. And as you know, or you may not know, Sault Ste. Marie, they just basically, released 10,000 or so people from having a family doctor in that city, all in one shot. So what is it with our healthcare system? Why is healthcare the way that it is? Why isn't it? Is it lack of money that it's not functioning properly? We don't have enough money? Is that the case? Because if so, it looks like a lot of money is thrown at it, and there's a lot of money there. We pay a lot of money for healthcare in this country. So what's going on? We have socialized healthcare in this country. We've had it for many, many years. It was very applauded. Many people around the world, many socialists around the world, including Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren in the United States, definitely want this type of healthcare there. But do they want these kinds of headlines as well, that they can't have doctors, There's thousands and thousands and thousands of their citizens left without family physicians. I don't have one myself. Had one, but he was very past retirement, in his 80s until he retired. So we don't have a doctor. And yeah. So what's up with the healthcare system? Interesting. So we have socialized healthcare. There are people that'll just beat that drum until there's no skin left on the drum, and no doctors for anybody anywhere, and waiting times of up to 3 days in a waiting room, and no room for people in a hospital, and all this stuff. They'll just keep saying, yes, it's the way to go. It is the way to go. Look at it. But I think by now the verdict is out for this type of healthcare. And again, talk about complicated and layered. It's not just the format of our healthcare system being universal and socialized that is a problem, although very much contributes to it. There are nurse practitioners, that is correct, taking the place of doctors now. So we've kind of brought the bar. I'm not saying they're any less good. It depends on your nurse practitioner. The one I just visited just came right out of school and was just reading everything off the internet, was putting questions into a program and was reading the questions back to me about my health off what the program was telling them. So you would say, she would ask you, okay, how do you feel with this? How do you feel with that? How do you feel? And she entered into this program, and then the program would tell her what to say back to me. Okay, so since you have these things, I recommend you do this, that, and the other. So a computer program was basically the doctor in this case. Why couldn't you just have that at home? Enter in your symptoms into a computer and it spits back what you need to do, right? That's where we're at. Yeah, not a fan. So our healthcare, you just have to ask yourself, what's been your experience with your particular health and the healthcare system that we have? Again, I haven't had too many good experiences myself, and have been very involved with my children with special needs, children with a terminal illness, child with a terminal illness, my spouse with different medical issues, myself alone, interacting on my own issues, and then my parent and parents. They're helping them navigate through the whole medical system. Very frustrating. Wait times and then you add COVID into the whole mixture, and that just shone a light on our system like no one's business. You know what I mean? Like the head of our health unit here in Sudbury making over $800,000 in 1 year. Just that alone, just you ask yourself, what was the need for that? In 2021, why were they paid over $800,000? Almost 3 times what Anthony Fauci was paid right here in Sudbury. Like for what? What's that? That's just one thing. Why do we have these wait times at our hospitals? What's going on with the whole pharmaceutical influence in our healthcare? Like what's going on with that? The whole interaction with doctors prescribing things. Why would one doctor prescribe one thing over another thing? What is the influence of pharmaceuticals in our healthcare? What are they being taught in schools? Who are the major contributors to education in our healthcare system these days, right? Who provides the money for education? And if they do they have any skin in the game? Do they have a bias? Do they have an agenda to teach our future doctors and nurses, right? So that's just questions you have to ask yourself. And why are we here? So we have nurse practitioners instead of doctors. And now they've, unless they're going to go along with whatever was mandated in their workplaces, they lose their jobs. And now we don't have as many nurses or doctors. It's already a shortage going. There's already a shortage going on. And now we're saying, well, we have all these people who have taken nursing and they have medical educations in third world countries, which are probably not up to the same par, or maybe they are. I have no idea, but we don't really know. They could have paid for it, because that's what happens in a lot of other countries. They can just pay for their accreditations. And now we're saying, well, we need all these doctors and nurses. So let's allow people that are from other countries that have come here, new Canadians that have education in their countries, which we can't even verify, allow them to practice because we need them so bad. And now, so you see how the bar is just going lower and lower and lower in terms of, and people are like, that's great. We can get, they have educations in other countries, not realizing the reason why we have so many international students here is because that education it's worth its weight in gold around the world, because I can't go to Cambrian College and say, I'll give you 20 grand if you just give me that diploma. And I don't even have to take it. Sure, they rob us and you have to pay them 20 grand. Sure, that's a racket in and of itself, the whole education system. But at least you got to do the work. You have to pass the assignments. You have to pass the tests. You got to do it. But in so many other countries, you don't have to. And they have the piece of paper, and now they're going to be your nurse or your doctor. And they could have just paid off the organization, the educational institution. Right? So you see there's a big movement in Canada to just get people that have other educations in other countries to have them practice here, because there's such a need. Why is there such a need? Again, it just gets worse and it gets worse, and your care gets worse and it costs more, and then it gets worse and it costs more and it gets worse. Race to the bottom, crabs in a bucket, basically terrible. But maybe you have great experience with the healthcare system. Maybe your experience is different than me. Maybe you're treated like a human being when you go into the emerge. And you're not a number, and it's a warm and fuzzy feeling, and everything works out, and you feel healthier as a result, and you're in a good place because of our medical system, right? That hasn't been my experience. And with that, let's look at CTV. Just did a story on vaccinations in schools. So they're making sure that all your kids are up to date on all their latest vaccinations. So we'll be back with that and much more right after this.
Algoma Public Health first sent out reminder letters to parents last July to submit vaccine records for their children, with follow-up letters mailed in January and letters of suspension sent out at the beginning of March.
We are working right now to go through the Immunization School of Pupils Act and have sent 4,000 letters out to families as a reminder to submit their records to Algoma Public Health.
Officials at Public Health Sudbury and districts say one reason for lagging vaccine records could be lack of access to health care.
People weren't able to see their healthcare providers. Now we're doing high school students, and a lot of that is you just don't go to see your healthcare provider for regular annual visits. So parents could be lagging. It's an issue of just forgetting to send us those records.
Harper and Stankiewicz say a lack of awareness of the illnesses brought under control by vaccines could be another reason.
There may also be some of us who don't have the connections of the stories and the experiences of what it would have been like prior to having vaccines. Certainly vaccines are something that can speak for themselves, the safety and efficacy. They've been around for decades.
Without the experience of the illness, it's hard to really imagine just how serious the illness is.
Although cases of measles have been popping up in other areas of the province, public health officials in Northern Ontario say there's little cause for concern here. Algoma Public Health reports more than 98% vaccine coverage, while Public Health Sudbury shows 95% coverage.
There you go. Well, we'll let the reporter sign off here.
Mike McDonald, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
And Mike McDonald, great name. And I'm a fan of Mike, not this maybe Michael McDonald, but Michael McDonald, solo artist, was in the Doobie Brothers as well. So good. Anyways, there was a great a great video I found from the Epoch Times talking about this new, I don't know, right now the World Health Organization, or the WHO, is in the process of finalizing a new global treaty, which I think most people on this would be aware of, and which would give great authority to dictate America's, including Canadian, policies during a pandemic, which we already saw formally, right? Like, we just went through this recently, and it's like, who was driving the bus in terms of our health for the last 5 years or so, right? Well, now they want to have even more power, so that way the next time anything like that happens, they run everything. No questions asked. People don't say, well, why are you telling us what to do? Who are you? No, it's none of that. They are the authority. There's everything that you know in terms of laws or whatever in your country are suspended, and the WHO basically makes the decisions in terms of your health right after that. So not only does Canada have a socialized healthcare ourselves, and we think we're running it, well, now it would just kind of give the keys over to unelected body of officials in a global capacity to tell you what to do with your health, right? And you would have no rights other than that. So that's what they want to do. And so while the WHO has been up until now an advisory body, somewhere in Europe that the US officials in CDC and the FDA can turn to for advice, they will instead become the ones who actually determine which policies are implemented, like vaccine policies, like we just saw. Where do those come from? A lot of times we're not making this stuff up. It's coming from higher ups, right? Even higher up than our own country. And in this case, it was just an advisory role before, but now it's turning into they're going to be the authority. So vaccine policies, lockdown policies, school closure policies, contact tracing policies, and even monitoring our online speech if that speech goes against what the WHO wants said. And so there's an episode here of Facts Matter. They're talking to a particular gentleman, I believe. His name is... had it right here a second ago. Dave Martin. Anyways, we'll be back right after this interview.
All right, Dr. Martin, thank you so much for joining us.
Honored to be here.
All right. So to start with, could you give an outline to the viewers who might not be aware of it, what this WHO international treaty that's currently being ironed out over at the UN, what is it all about?
Well, the key points are that with the support of the financial institutions of the Rockefeller Foundation, the Wellcome Trust, and the Gates Foundation, we're essentially ceding the ability to suspend all civil liberties and all of the rights associated with what we would call the Bill of Rights here in the United States, International Declaration of Human Rights. All of those can be suspended by a capricious determination that there's a public health emergency, and the minute that happens, there are no rights. In a nutshell, that's what the treaty is. And like the PrEP Act was after the anthrax outbreak of 2001, which the U.S. perpetrated on the U.S. so that we could get to the PrEP Act of 2005, the exact same playbook is how we got COVID to get us to this moment, which is to say, terrorize the world, convince them that we need some giant protector state that actually has some sort of supranational ability, and then suspend civil liberties as long as they need to be suspended. And in this particular case, at the whim of funding agencies who have no criminal accountability. So, in a nutshell, if you feel good about that, feel good about May.
Well, let me ask you this. The treaty, the WHO treaty, my understanding is that it will standardize a lot of what took place during COVID. It'll standardize it across multiple countries, the vaccination rollout, the standards, the reporting standards, the tracking standards, things like that. And then it'll allow the WHO to declare certain countries that they're in a state of pandemic and is in a certain state of medical emergency, but it'll still be up to those countries to actually act upon it. I don't think
No, actually, that's the way they're trying to spin it, and that's lovely, just like the PrEP Act tried to spin the emergency use authorization, which could be done, as you know, to suspend any of the rights of any individual to actually have informed consent, which, by the way, was signed into law in 2016 under the 21st Century CARES Act. This is doing the exact same thing. What it does is it allows a board at the World Health Organization to either declare an actual emergency or declare an anticipated emergency. There doesn't have to be any evidence. There is no evidence standard at all. So this is actually worse than what happened in COVID, because they don't even have a standard that says they have to isolate a pathogen. They don't have to isolate anything. What they have to do is simply say, we think that there is a reason to declare an emergency, and as such, we therefore have the ability to suspend travel, to actually penalize member states. There's a very big clause inside of the treaty that actually has penalties on member states for noncompliance. So yes, the Tedros official statement is, oh, no, everybody still has their sovereignty. Kind of like New York had sovereignty during the pandemic. So if you feel good about how New York treated everybody during the pandemic, then you're probably safe.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, I feel like in like a very practical sense, 2028, let's say Trump is in office. The WHO declares a pandemic in the U.S. I feel like Trump, if he doesn't agree with it, just tells them to go kick rocks, versus if, let's say, Biden is in office, he can agree with it, and then he can say, well, sorry, my hands are tied, the WHO says we have to do it this way, and then we'll do it. I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it more of like a political scapegoat of like if the administration is ideologically aligned with this sort of agenda, then they can just say, well, sorry, the WHO has declared it, we have to do it, versus like a Trump figure or like a more conservative president would be able to say, well, no, we don't have to actually do anything based on what they're telling us.
Well, certainly one approach, and Trump actually tried this in his first administration, is actually just to say to the WHO, just go pound sand. One option is to just write yourself out of the WHO, and that's actually a viable strategy, and a number of countries are looking at doing that. So you're exactly right. There is a way to actually pull the plug on it. The tiny problem is international commerce, international travel, and a lot of other things actually get suspended as a consequence of that. So it's not as simple as we can just get a get-out-of-jail-free clause by somebody going, we're out of the WHO or we're out of something else. So reprisals are a real problem, and we have to actually address those. But we have to go back to the formation of the World Health Organization, and a lot of people don't want to go back to 1944 to 1946 when the WHO was set up. Very few people know that they wrote absolute immunity from all criminal prosecution into their charter. The only organization self-appointed with no external authority ever granted to have the ability to write themselves out of all forms of criminal prosecution in perpetuity. That's right in the charter of the World Health Organization. And that right, which was actually negotiated by the Wellcome Trust and the Rockefeller Foundation, they are the ones that paid for it. They're the ones that put Renee Sand up as the first director. They're the ones that actually put all of these pieces in place. Give them the ability to act with impunity on citizens, regardless of your compliance or absence of compliance with any of the nation-state decisions around the World Health Organization. So you're right. We can actually hit an easy button and say, well, we're opting out. But every American citizen traveling abroad has no rights. They can be subject to any crime for which there can be no criminal prosecution. So if you feel good about that, yeah, there's probably a way we can actually soft pedal this thing. But the problem is, like we had with anthrax to get to the PrEP Act, like we've had with COVID to get to the World Health Organization Treaty, these things are set up to be terror campaigns to modify the public's willingness to give up their liberties. And going back to 1904, the Jacobson case, which set the precedent for this, every single one of the public health crises was exactly for that purpose. And the presentation I made here today goes from 1904 to every crisis since, laying out exactly the 4-year period of time between the initiation of the intervention of emergency use and the suspension of civil liberties. So it's only been going on since 1904.
The latest I've seen is a zero draft of the WHO treaty. They called it the version 0 draft or
Yes.
whatever. That was several months ago. What state is it in, and what's the next step? Is it going to be voted on at the next WHO General Assembly?
Yeah, so the great thing about that is we've been told that there is, in fact, no public comment and no public exposure to the draft that will be ultimately ratified. This is actually being done in closed-door sessions, and there is no public announcement or public review, which sounds like great due process to me. Absolutely not. There's no public comment period, and there's no ability for member states to even read the draft until the moment they're actually in the vote. Now, like any other legislation that gets ramrodded, and we have here in the United States many documents, like the Judiciary Authorization Bill, which gets a unanimous consent voice resolution at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday when nobody's in the chamber.
And
the document's that thick, nobody knows what's in it. Right? Those are the problems we have. So the ability for people to have a considered review and, God forbid, a public debate have been thrown out the window. Nation states will not know what they're voting on. And remember, during COVID, and this is an important point, people in every one of the parliaments of all of the European countries and inside of the European Union didn't have a chance to review the Pfizer contracts or the Moderna contracts. Their states actually ratified those contracts, we would argue illegally, but they ratified those contracts. And what we know is that now those are binding contracts, that Pfizer is now using those contracts to sue member states for not buying their contracted requirements of injections. I mean, these things, which once again we can actually say, let's stop the WHO treaty, right? It's a laudable objective. But my point that I made in the European Union Parliament was we have to go one step further. The World Health Organization was a criminal racketeering organization as defined by the Sherman Act and the Clayton Act. And by that I mean interlocking directorates defined under the Clayton Act, racketeering and express market domination and market controls, all of which are defined under the Sherman Act. This was a violation of the law when it was set up in the 1940s. And we have to go back to the foundation of what the WHO is and recognize since 1953, it has been exclusively a vaccine-promoting enterprise.
So there you have it. So if you feel like there's a lot of push for the V word a lot, there you go. A little bit of history for you if you're able to connect some dots there. And why our public health officials are so bent on doing it. I don't know if they even really know like any of this information, if anyone's listening to this at this moment, maybe for the first time you're hearing some of this stuff. Where do these things come from? Where does information come from? Why are we all like thinking that there's one solution for something or whatever? But a little bit of history there from Dr. Martin, a very well-educated, well-spoken individual. I've heard him before. So grateful for that interview there. Just keep asking questions and keep wondering and keep a childlike kind of view on the world where you never know everything about everything. But by asking questions, you'll either peeve people off like you would a parent when you ask why 400 times in a row, or you'll get to the bottom of something and learn something, right? You learn by asking. So anyways, thank you. And then listen to the answer as well. So thanks everyone for watching or listening. Now that we're back on CKLU, we really are grateful for that platform and grateful for community radio as Pledge Week will commence next week. Make sure to keep listening to the show and listening to the station. We'll have a lot of guest DJs on and things like that. Lots planned. Visit CKLU for more information on Pledge Week. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll be back, God willing, same time, same place tomorrow. Take care, and we'll see you, and we'll we'll check back in then. Thank you very much. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.